My name is Sanjit De Silva, and the PAD taught me what my true passion is.
Hello, my guest today on the PAD podcast is Sanjit De Silva. I am so delighted that Sanjit took the time to share his career with me. He's a WashU PAD alum. He has quite the sort of background in TV and film. He's been on a number of TV shows, from Law and Order to playing a doctor on Johnny Zero, and Blue Bloods, Good Wife, you name it. He's been in it. And so I'm very, very delighted to talk with him about his career, about his work, his biology major, his PAD major, and his minor in film at WashU, and everything that's been happening to him since. He's also the founder of Silva Dollar Films. We talked a little bit about the work that particular company does as well. So without further ado, please enjoy my interview of Sanjit De Silva. My guest today is Sanjit De Silva. I'm very, very excited to have Sanjit on the podcast. He comes highly recommended by his classmates, prior guests on the podcast. He is an actor, director, film producer. I'm just so happy to have you on the podcast and to kind of discuss a little bit about your background, specifically at WashU. So thank you for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, if you don't mind, if you could talk a little bit about, Sanjit, how you happened to find WashU, kind of a little bit of your backstory, where you grew up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I kind of grew up all over the world. I'm originally from Sri Lanka, and I don't know if you know, there was a civil war there for 30 years. And so we fled the country and eventually made our way to the States. And my mother worked for the UN.
Wow.
She was at UNICEF, which is what allowed us to kind of leave. But she worked for UNICEF. And the time I was applying to colleges, my dad, and my sister she was planning to take a post in Tanzania, in Africa. So they wanted me to go to a top 20 university with a good pre-med program near my uncle. My uncle lives in St. Louis
Oh, nice.
and watched you at the time. And I was even more acclaimed, had a really great pre-med program.
Yes.
And so it ended up being the school they really wanted me to apply to. I think I wanted to go to George Washington University, Georgetown.
Sure.
But it became school that I looked at, and for practical reasons, they really wanted me to go. And then I think I visited, and I really fell in love with the campus.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, this place is kind of amazing. And I don't know, I got a really good vibe from it. And then the more research I did, I felt like it could be a good fit. And I think my parents were like, well, you definitely got to go there. And then I was like, well, then I guess and my counselor was like, well, you better go early decision then.
Oh,
If you want to
gotcha.
get,
Smart.
and I was
Yes.
like, okay, because I don't know if I would have it would get into WashU now, but so I went early decision.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I got in and I
Nice.
came to WashU, yeah, to be pre-med and become a doctor.
I see. Wonderful. Okay. And so your uncle, his geographic location came into play in all of this,
Yeah.
I suppose. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah. He lives like 20 minutes from WashU,
I see.
and he is a doctor.
Nice. He's still around then?
He is. He is.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. So you got into WashU with an intent to be pre-med, and then what happened? I can't
Um,
help but
I,
notice that you're not a practicing
uh,
physician.
Correct. I was on the pre-med track, and I was biology, going to be a biology major, and then I started taking I always been interested in drama, and I started taking some acting classes to honestly boost my GPA because the pre-med classes were really
Yes,
hard,
for
and I
sure.
wasn't doing that well in them, to be honest. And I took my first acting class with Bill Whitaker,
Ah, yeah.
and it was amazing. I I don't know, something happened in that class. I loved how Bill taught, and we did this improv exercise where I got up and I felt like I made the room change with what I was saying, and it was kind of this weird, thrilling moment.
Sounds like
And I
magic. It
thought,
really does.
yeah, and then the PAD was this small theater department in the in the midst of this big, science school, and I found some great people there, great teachers, and I thought, oh, maybe maybe it won't just be to boost my GPA. Maybe I'll actually start thinking about doing more acting classes. And then I decided to do a double major in biology and performing arts
Yep.
because I was part of a sketch comedy group called Cactables, and one of the members, Johnny Castle, was doing this. He said, "Oh, you can do a double major." He was also doing a double major in biology and performing arts. I said, "Oh, well, let me try that too." And so I did a double major, and I also ended up doing a minor in film
Right.
because I really film studies department. And then I think about 6 months before the MCATs, I did a play called Bent by Martin Sherman,
Yeah.
uh, and it kind of changed everything for me. It was sort of a profound play, and we put that production up, and I remember my mom coming out to see it. And I remember a rabbi from Hillel, I think, came to see the show
That's awesome.
and said, I saw it on Broadway, or was it Broadway with Richard Gere? And he thought, I thought you were better. And I was like,
Nice.
what? So I just, so it had a profound impact on me. It felt like it had a profound impact on the audience. And it's the first time I thought, wow, maybe I can be in the arts.
Yeah.
So I decided not to take the MCATs and that I wasn't going to be. But then I didn't commit to being an actor. I thought maybe I'll be a filmmaker.
Sure.
And I met somebody else in a poetry class. I took a poetry class, and Ross Martin was doing a poetry major at WashU, but he was also interested in film, and he had done an internship at Spike Lee's company, 40 Acres and a Mule.
Right.
So the summer before my senior year, he was like, "Why don't you apply for this internship?" So I did, and so I did an internship at the development department of 40 Acres and a Mule the summer before I graduated, and I loved it. I was reading scripts and doing treatments, and I got to watch Spike film movies,
That's insane.
and I thought, yeah, I think I'll be a filmmaker. And then in my senior year, I made a film, a feature length film, which won the best film at the WashU Film Festival, which I don't know if it still happens or not.
Not that I
So
know of, but we need to bring that back.
yeah, I wrote and directed that film called The Usual, which was basically a takeoff on Swingers, the movie Swingers.
Ah, nice.
Uh,
A previous podcast guest and classmate of yours, Corey Jones, was
he
in
was in the
that.
movie. He was one of the leads. He was actually one of the leads in the film. That is correct.
A small, small
Corey
world.
Corey was one of the leads, and Corey and I did The Servant of Two Masters together, which was the first big play I did at WashU, where I kind of really thought, oh, maybe I could do this.
Yeah,
And one of my Jeff Pagliano was played the lead in that, and to this day is one of my great, great friends.
nice,
And we actually moved to the city together to live together and become actors. That was later.
nice.
So then I thought maybe I'll do a film minor, and so then I actually got my biology major and my film minor. I had one more credit left, so I made a documentary on a cellular organism to get credit in the biology and film. So I was able to get my film minor and my biology major, finish those up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you've yet to submit that particular film now, or you
Uh,
eventually did?
no, you mean the organism film?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
no.
yes.
That's how I got my film minor and my
Oh,
biology
gotcha.
major. That's how I got my full credits for the major and the minor, because I had one more,
I see.
I had a couple more credits left to get
Yeah,
the minor, and so I come by. I said, so I made this
I love it.
documentary, and I asked my biology, I don't forget what class it was, will you give me credit if I make this documentary? And then the film person said, yes, I'll give you, so
That's
that's how I ended
awesome.
up getting my,
I think there's an official term for that. It's called double dipping.
yeah, that's how I officially got my full credits for my biology major and
Oh,
my
that's
film minor.
perfect. That's perfect. And kind
Yeah.
of kind of brilliant actually too. Why shouldn't it just sort of suit
Yeah,
both
yeah,
majors?
yeah, and it was great. And it was great. I made this documentary on this cellular organism, and it actually ended up being a really cool documentary on the Volvox cell, or I can't remember now.
Ah, it's fantastic.
Was it my microbiology class? It might have been my microbiology class.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a way, yeah, exactly. So my minor came in really handy to finish my biology major up.
I love it. I love it. So
But,
this is fantastic. So at that point, so you've graduated now, and then what happened for you? What happened? What happened
so
next?
when I graduated, I thought, oh, God, I gotta get a job. So, but because of my connections at 40 Acres, I became friends with the location manager,
Huh?
and they were shooting Summer of Sam that year. So I got a job being a location assistant, a location PA.
Nice.
So I thought, okay, I'll be a production assistant. I'll learn the nuts and bolts of filmmaking first, behind the scenes, and then and that's how I'll start my foray into filmmaking.
Sure.
And so I was a PA on Summer of Sam, a Spike directed, and then I got hired to be a scenic PA on the Man on the Moon movie that with about Andy Kaufman that Milos Forman
Yes.
directed.
Amazing movie.
And they were great experiences, but I kept thinking about the people in front of the camera and not behind the camera.
Hmm.
I kept thinking, oh gosh, oh no, I think I really want to be an actor.
Yeah.
And
And at this point, had you based yourself in New York? Or
I
were
think
you
that's I started off by my parents live in Stamford, Connecticut. I was going back and forth, and then
got it?
eventually I met somebody working on Summer of Sam who had a place to rent, and I moved in. I was living there, and then Jeff Pagliano was
Yes.
out in California working for Robert Zemeckis, and he wanted to quit the producer track and train as an actor. So we met at some bar in Midtown and both made an agreement. Let's move in together and let's become actors.
Nice.
Uh, and so that's what happened. And then I started. I think I started taking classes and working overnight jobs and doing bad auditions from backstage and doing off Broadway stuff. Just and then I think I did a touring production of a Moliere play, children's theater tour where I met somebody who told me that, oh, there's a great Shakespeare lab at the Public Theater. And I thought, okay, I'll do that, and that kind of changed everything because that Shakespeare lab, the teachers there were taught at NYU graduate acting program, specifically a man named Ron Van Loo, who's a master teacher of
Yeah.
acting at NYU. Then he went on to Yale, and then he went to Columbia, and he kind of changed my life. I spent that summer taking his class and scene study, and then Deb Hecht was the voice teacher there, and so she also taught NYU grad acting. And I think Bill Irwin did a clown class with us.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my God, I need more training. I need to, I
Sure.
think I need to go back, and I think I need to go train with Ron Man Liu.
Yeah.
I need to go to NYU.
Yep. Yep.
So then I just applied to all the top grad schools at the time, and Zelda Fishhandler was the head of the program at the time,
Yeah. Legend.
uh, uh, and I I went there, got the call back, told Zelda I wanted to go to NYU, and
Yeah.
I remember her calling me and saying, actually, I remember the time they had, I think they had three full scholarships at the time, and my parents were obviously like, "We're not supporting you. You can't, this is crazy. We're immigrants who came here. You're supposed to be a doctor, being, and so." I was basically doing it all myself. And I remember walking into my callback, I think with Zelda, and I was like, I hear you got three full scholarships. I'd love one. I don't know how I got the gumption to ask for that.
Sure.
I remember getting a call from her, like, from Zelda, like, Sanjit, hey, you got in and you got the scholarship. See you in the fall. Click.
Click. Really, what else do you need to know at that point?
Yeah, that's, that's
Well,
right. So,
that's
and
a.
then
I hope you saved
NYU,
that voicemail.
I
That's kind of
wish I
legendary.
had. But that was yeah. And then I went to grad school, and those was some that's where all my real training, my
Sure.
passion was ignited at WashU, and then I got my full training and became who I am as an artist.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
years at NYU were amazing, and then I graduated and just yeah started working, and I've been working as an actor
Yeah.
ever
Well,
since.
you're extremely modest because you haven't just been working. You've been doing some of the most amazing theater. I mean, Broadway, off Broadway. You've worked with Bartlett Sher, Daniel Sullivan, some of the great regional Broadway, New York, you name it, directors. Were you in Warhorse, I think,
I
on
was,
Broadway?
yes.
I mean, this is a stellar career. And I haven't even gotten to the film yet. But so talk a little bit about that. After you left NYU, was there a seminal role that you got that kind of opened the door for you for different different gigs?
Um, I think just graduating from NYU was big because,
Sure.
like NYU, Yale. At that time, NYU, Yale, and UCSD all did a showcase together, and Tijuana was at Yale. So we would have been in the same class if I'd gone into Yale because I got into Yale also, but I wanted
There
to
you
go to
go.
NYU. So
Yeah.
we did our showcase together.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
and those showcases are, I didn't even realize that this was a thing, where all these agents and casting directors come. And now, of course, people go to grad school knowing that in mind to get
Yes.
there. Now it's such a big thing, but really that showcase is where I got my agents and casting directors saw me, and
Sure.
that kind of set the foundation because so many casting people knew me from that, and then they would bring me in, and then you'd go in and you'd audition, and I did make a decision not to do any theater right after grad school. I
Ah,
really wanted to do TV because I wanted to make some money.
right.
I really wanted to focus on TV, so I didn't take any. I think I was offered like an ensemble member at Shakespeare in the Park that summer, but
Sure.
I was actually a part of a theater company too that my wife founded called Rising Circle Theater Collective. So we were working on plays, and I really wanted to produce a play that summer. Naomi Wallace's In the Heart of America. At grad school, they gave us space, so I wanted to really act and produce that summer.
Yeah.
So I was kind of focused on also doing my own work. I'm at NYU, especially the third year. There, you really it's an acting program, but it's really an artist program and citizen artist program. And we were always wanting to do our own work as well. So I was always interested in writing, and
Yeah.
I kind of was doing that, and then yeah, I got my first job out of grad school was actually to play a doctor on TV. Ironically, after
Nice. Here it
being
is.
that.
You fulfilled
Uh,
your dream
and
of
I
being a
said, Mom,
doctor.
Dad, my first job is being a doctor on TV. So in some ways, I did fulfill all your dreams. And of course, for them as immigrant parents, when you get your master's, they're like, oh, he's got his master's. That means he can teach. Like they felt like, oh, that must be he'll be stable from now on. Little did they know, no, does a master doesn't mean anything in terms of like actual acting career. That's always up
Totally.
and down. It
Yes.
does
Yes.
mean you can teach, and I do teach now actually at the new school.
Nice.
But
Nice.
but so yeah, my first job was on this show called Johnny Zero on
Okay.
Fox. I was the ER doctor, and that first episode was directed by Mimi Leader, who directed the pilot of ER.
Nice.
And so that was my very first gig, and then
Ah, that's awesome. Okay, well, not from Johnny Zero. I thought I'd share a little clip of Sanjit in production and production. It's the theater part of me. He's in a show called New Amsterdam, and this is him playing a doctor in New Amsterdam. Enjoy.
Helen Sharp, as I live and breathe.
Omar, thank you so much for this.
We have a cot over here for you.
Okay. Go. Have you had much trouble?
Well, comes and goes, and we've gotten better at evading the cops. This one's you. And if you'll allow me,
Thank you.
I see you've not fully embraced the value of what we do here.
I believe your intentions are good.
Yeah, but not our methods. If people can start making good decisions here, then we're helping.
yeah, and then it kind of, and then it just kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
I don't. I think people say, okay, there's this moment or a break, and I think it's ebbs and flows. Sometimes a job happens and it's a great job, and that leads to other jobs. But then there's no jobs, and then you're kind of waiting, and then something else
Yeah.
comes along, and so I always, your career is a marathon, not a
Yeah.
sprint.
True.
It's a long
I've heard it called feast or famine. It can.
trajectory. And so I feel like I've been lucky enough. And all I ever wanted to, I didn't never even thought, as a immigrant, brown boy coming here, I was either supposed to be a lawyer, doctor, accountant. I didn't think I had any other options. And
Hmm.
I came to WashU to be a doctor, but WashU had such an incredible liberal arts program, and it was so important to my growth, and it helped me find my passion outside of it and gave me the courage to
Oh.
pursue something I never might not have otherwise. And
Hmm.
and then I felt like the arts, I was kind of called to do it. And
Yeah.
ironically, I found it at WashU is where the calling first started. And
It's where the phone just the first rang. It first rang, and
yeah, first
you
rank,
answered
yeah,
the
it's
call
a
for
kind of
sure.
yeah, it's really interesting.
I love that. I love
Um,
that. Wow.
So,
I had it. I apologize. I had it backwards. I can't, I don't know why I think this way in my head, but I assumed that you began in theater and then that graduated somewhat to doing film and TV, but you started
no,
off
no.
doing
I
film and
started off,
TV.
I wanted to be a filmmaker, yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's still very much I've made a short film, I've written scripts, but yeah, I do want to make a feature. That's my next thing. But no,
Yeah.
then acting became the thing that took over. So I
Sure.
say acting is my day job now, and then I like to do other things. I write and direct and teach. And,
Yeah. Well,
uh,
if you don't mind, I'd love for you to talk about that. Silva Dollar Films is your company. You're a director and producer for this production
yeah, so I
company.
started it to make this short film I wanted to make because you have to start an LLC when you make a short film.
Mhm.
And so it was actually after Warhorse. I'd done Warhorse for 2 years, and it was this incredible job on Broadway. Like my first gig on Broadway, it ends up winning the Tony. It ends up sweeping it. It's like the biggest hit of the season.
Insane.
All of a
Yes.
sudden, like, where yeah, it was a sort of a whirlwind. And to get a chance to do something for 2 years. And the second year, I actually switched roles, so I got to even play even bigger role the second year, so that which is
Oh,
rare. So it was quite a um, amazing experience. And I was a new father then too.
wow.
And so it was and so after doing 2 years of theater, I really wanted to do something else. I wanted to really make a film and short film, and so I gathered a bunch of friends, and one of them was one of the producers on it, where people I went to watch you with. Jeff Pagliano came on as one of the producers, and this guy Matt Schneider, who is an entertainment lawyer now.
Got it. Got it.
Who yeah, another person maybe you should talk to.
Yeah.
I just had lunch with him, and
Nice.
so yeah, and I wrote, co-directed it, and ended up starring in it because the person who's supposed to act in it got a TV gig last minute, and my wife was the star of the show. We acted together in it,
Nice. Nice. Did
and
you and your wife, I'm just curious, did you meet in a project, in a
we
film
met
or
through her theater company. They were doing
got it?
workshops of, I think, of Speed the Plow. And my friend was like, I'm directing this scene of Speed the Plow. Do you want to do it? And that's how we ended up meeting.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So making that short film was one of the most fulfilling experiences I've ever had, but it was also a lot because I did produced, directed, wrote, fundraised, and then theater jobs kept coming, so I haven't gotten a chance to go back and but I got hired from that to do short films for Pace, the Pace TV and film department. I produced short films for their students, and then that's how I got into teaching because Tijuana was actually teaching at Pace also. And
Nice.
they asked me to stay on and be the on-camera teacher,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so then I moved to new school and now I teach at the new school.
Yeah.
Um,
I gotta say your life is, and just listening to you and hearing you mention names who either I've already interviewed for the podcast or soon will, if I can find them. It is true that a teacher of mine used to say that your classmates of today, while you're in school, are your colleagues of tomorrow. That you're, why would you create art for some other generation than your own? Why wouldn't, why don't you tell stories that relate to you with your peers? Would you say that it's been, for example, Monik Chokski, I just interviewed this morning, and he
yeah.
said to say hello.
Oh yeah.
um,
Oh
you
God, I
know,
haven't seen Monica in so long.
yeah, and so I just find all of you have, I would say, in talking to each and every one of you, Tijuana, whose podcast just went up today, that you all seem to have a wonderful kind of family love for each other, and you honestly, I would think, believe that the high tide rises all boats theory is true, that everyone succeeds, when the high tide goes up for all of you.
And
Um,
definitely, and I feel, and I do tell my students, like the look to your left and your right. These are the people that will be important for you in your career.
yes.
And it has been in terms of the WashU people I still keep in contact with and who have been in art together, and then my NYU grad acting family. Like they have been so important to
Yeah.
me. And I think it's such an important lesson to learn to look at the people around you because those are the people that you end up will end up giving you jobs and working with you, making you a better artist,
Yeah. And
So
has being a teacher changed your, I don't know, I like to think that I love, it's easy to teach what I love and I enjoy doing that at WashU. Have you found teaching has maybe changed you as an artist?
oh yeah, I feel like I'm learning as much from my students,
Mm,
as they're from me. At first, I was like, oh, am I ready to teach? And I thought, oh, wait a minute, I may not know everything, but I know more than them. So, but I also I don't teach as a teacher. I teach as a peer, as a collaborator, as an artist. I teach like this is my technique. This is how I work. This is how I come to work. This is how I break down. This is one technique, so I can tell you how I do it, and then if it helps you, great. And then you have to form your own toolbox, and you have to form your own set of rules and way of working as an artist. But I can show you one way of working. And so I see myself as a sort of guide or collaborator with them to their journey to being an artist. And so that allows me to, be my most successful. But I feel like I learn a lot from them, I also do on-camera acting, so I use a lot of my sides that I've auditioned for, and sometimes I'll watch students. I go, "Oh my God, that's so much better than I had ever done." I was like, maybe I'd have done that. I'd have got that job. And,
yeah. Well,
you
you
know,
let's face it, you were once better than Richard Gere. Let's
yeah,
face
apparently,
it.
yeah.
Uh, I want to
Yeah.
make sure I circle back a little bit to Silva Dollar Films, and it sounds to me in visiting the website and reading a little bit more about it, that in a similar way, Tijuana Ricks has Some Folks Productions, which is meant to sort of elevate the stories that rarely get told. It might be a good way to say. What's the focus of your company and the type of projects that you are drawn to and dig into?
Well, for me, I've in that and Rising Circle at first, it was about telling stories of people of color, and for me personally, I just didn't see any stories about me out there and for us and by us. So it was really to start telling the fuller fabric of the American cloth, and so that's why I started it, and and that's why I keep making things and wanted to put it out there, because I just want to add to the story of America, and not have there just been, I feel like I just didn't see enough of my face out there, stories about us. And so that's why I started it,
Yeah,
and I feel like we have so much more to do, and especially because as an actor, that's my main work. So I feel like I actually haven't been able to give as much to Silver Dollar. I haven't been able to make as much. There've been stuff in the pipeline, and I've co-written screenplays, but it's been tough to get a feature length going. But that's my goal. I was writing a script with Susan Kelechi Watson, who I met in grad school, was on the show This Is Us, and we've been developing a screenplay together. And so, yeah, I do want to have more of a find a way to get more time to make films, but also, I mean, I'm a theater actor. I live in New York, and
yeah,
some great things that keep coming my way, and so I've
nice.
been fortunate enough to work in the theater and work with some really great people.
Yeah,
And but that's my goal. That's the goal of Silver Dollar, and that's sort of my goal as a writer too. Anything that my wife and I have co-written 4 plays together as well, um, and so I feel like that's the reason why I started writing. I didn't necessarily want to be a writer, and I don't consider myself a writer first. I'm an actor who writes,
yeah,
and I wrote out of necessity. I write out of necessity, um, and um, and and it's been, but it's also, I think at this point, in our industry, New School is interesting because we've become a multidisciplinary program. It's not just writer, or it's just like everybody trains together, writing, directing, and acting. And I think you have to be a multidisciplinary artist these days. It's hard to just be an actor. You should know how to write. You should dabble
yeah,
in directing. You should know about producing. You come out here. You should know how to put up your own play, how to like
right.
get a theater and put up lights. And I think it behooves it behooves training and behooves schools to train students to come out as
Yeah.
multidisciplinary
And
artists.
it would seem your history is exemplary of that too, going all the way back to being a PA on 40 Acres and a Mule, like that
Yeah,
you I don't know if you want to call it paid your dues, but you've worked all sides of the camera and
yeah,
understand.
I have, and I remember actually, at WashU, one of the things we had to be stagehands. So I
Yeah.
remember being running crew, and
We
like that
still
was
do that, yes.
yeah, and it's so important. It's so important to learn how to run crew, you know.
Nice. I'm gonna
Um,
just clip that part out because I want to make sure students know that that's important because it's hard. It's a hard sell sometimes.
I still remember that, and it's funny. I ran crew for I think a show that Pun Bandhu did. Pun also graduated from this
Nice. Yes.
program, and Pun's definitely somebody you should interview because he was very involved in APAC, which
Yes.
really led the fight to um, to dealing with diversity on Broadway,
Yeah.
and he's been really important to this industry.
Yes, for sure. Wow.
Yeah, I think I crewed his show, the show that he did.
Do you remember what role? Was it wardrobe or what were you pulling ropes?
I
Do
was
you
backstage.
recall?
I think I was backstage. I was backstage crew, but yeah,
Nice.
that was so important. My design classes were important. My directing class
Sure.
at WashU I took was really uh you know pivotal for me.
Nice. Nice.
And then the screenplay class I did was obviously really um great.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, you've had such a fantastic career, and I gotta say, it's something about being multidisciplinary. As I said earlier, just this morning, I interviewed Monik Choksi, who's a
Yeah.
classmate of yours, and here's a guy who's an illustrator and a musician and an act. I mean, he's a
Well, Monic's a
Renaissance.
little younger than me, so
Right.
he's
I get it. I get it. I get it. But I
he
think
graduated after me.
yes. I mean, but you included, you
Yeah.
have to sort of in order to succeed, you have to kind of have this creative courage, I would call it, to do all
Yeah.
of these different things and to pick up new skills and collaborate with new people and that type of thing.
Yeah. And I think
Um,
I've always been interested in that, and it kind of makes me a fuller artist. And I feel I'm a better actor when I write,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm a better actor when I direct,
fair.
and teach, it all becomes, feeds each other.
Yeah, no doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt. It's been a treat just to just chat with you and dig a little bit into your history. And I wish you and your family nothing more than the best. You've got a son perhaps that's looking at coming to wash you himself.
That's
So
right. Yeah,
yeah.
he turned 17 on Saturday,
Oh my
and
gosh.
yeah, I know. And yeah, we'll hopefully be visiting WashU in the fall, and he can take a look
Nice.
at the school. And we're looking. I think he's interested in California,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I'd love for him to come see WashU. And yeah,
for
it's
sure.
crazy. I can't believe I have a 17-year-old, soon to be 17-year-old, and we're coming to look at visit the university I graduated from. It's so
Exactly.
crazy.
Exactly.
Time flies. I certainly don't,
Yeah,
feel that in my bones, 'cause
sure.
I'm still an artist and still trying to figure out what
Yeah,
the next thing I want to do and what's
exactly. Wow. Wow.
so
Time
yeah.
time just flies. My stepkids are 23 and 25 now, and it's like, wait,
Oh gosh.
where did the time go?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, thank you so much for being on the PAD podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I'm really glad you're interviewing people from the PAD, and
Yeah,
I'm glad that the program is there because I think it's so essential, to the development of any student. And I know it was for me. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, we try to. Someone else once asked me, "What's your sort of philosophy for teaching?" And I think they expected, although they should know because I'm a visual artist. Words are not my thing. I gave them three words. I said, "Make hope visible."
mm,
That's pretty much what teaching is. And
yeah,
so it's not like I can take anyone there. I can't take someone on a journey, but if they tell me a little bit about themselves, I can maybe help them, like you did, take a chance on an acting class that could lead
yeah,
to a production of Bent. That,
yeah.
and one thing leads to another, But
You never
uh,
know.
well, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
My many, many thanks to Sanjit for joining the PAD podcast. Listen for the next one. Watch for the next one. Whatever it is you should be doing. Watch for the next episode of the PAD podcast. Until then, thank you so much for listening.